usual, and then you guys are going to go on to IXL and do X.4 quadrant planes as maps. They pretty much do a quadrant plane as a map, as it says, and they're going to put locations on the points where you guys would be plotting points, such as a library or bus stop, and you need to find where to go or how many units are in between different things, but we can get into that after we're done with this warm-up. So what we're going to do, we're just going to add these decimals all together. We're going to line up the decimals first, 56 and 84 hundredths, and then 32 and 873 thousandths, and then I'm going to add them all up. I'm going to add zeros, you don't have to. 8 plus 8, 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. Drop your decimal. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 plus 2 more is 13. Carry your 1. Drop your 3. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 5 it's 12. 12 plus 3 more is 15. I'm going to make sure I got that right. Yep, 153 and 713 thousandths. Okay, write an expression for the number of eggs in a dozen. So X would equal the dozen. So if you know what a dozen is 12. So you're going to say 12X. So if I have 3 dozen eggs, you're going to put the 3 in for X, and then you're going to take 12 times 3, and that would be 36. So that means in 3 dozen, if you had 3 dozen eggs, that means that you have 36 eggs, because you would take however many cartons you have and substitute it in for X, and then you're going to multiply it by 12. Okay? And that's the expression for the problem. That's all we have to do. Estimate the quotient using compatible numbers. Compatible means that they get along easier. They're easy to go into each other. So for example, 61 and 32 hundredths divided by 11 and 7/10, we're going to use numbers that are kind of close to each other, that are able to easily go into each other. So I think I'm just going to do, I'll just do 60 and then 10. So 60 divided by 10 would be what? 6 divided by 1, which is the same thing as 6. So 10 times 6 would be 60. Just a second. So we would take 6 times 10, and that would be 60, and then that would be your answer would be 6. Okay, because 60 divided by 10 would be 6. Okay, what's the height of a triangle if the base is 20 meters and the area is 50 meters squared? So if you remember, base times height divided by 2 equals the area of a triangle. So they're technically saying 20 times a certain number divided by 2 equals 50. Okay, so they're kind of going backwards. They're trying to make us do, remember how we talked about inverse operations? We have to do the opposite in order to find out what this number is, and then we have to go back and see if that equals the right number. So for example, what's the opposite of dividing by 2 would be multiplying by 2. So if we multiply by 2, 50 times 2 would be 100. And then the opposite of multiplying by 20 would be dividing by 20. So 100 divided by 20 would be 5. So let's see if that works for our height of our triangle. So 20 times 5 would be 100. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so 100. Now 100 divided by 2 is 50. So yep, that makes sense. So our height for our triangle is going to be 5 meters, or I just said 5m. Okay, the ratio of dogs to cats in the neighborhood is 4:3, and we're going to complete this table by finding the missing values. So for example, they said for every 4 cats, there's 3 dogs. So if they had 8 cats, how many dogs would there be? Let's do another one. So if there's 21 dogs, so I'm switching it from opposite, how many cats would there be? So if they do a little bit bigger number, 64 cats, how many dogs would there be? So what I did here is I kind of set up an equivalent ratio or equivalent fraction set up to figure out how much is what. So for example, 4 times what is 8, so you're going to multiply by 2, and that would be 8, so you got to take the bottom times 2, so that would be 6. 3 times 2 is 6, so there's 6 dogs. For every 8 cats in the community, there was 6 dogs. So we got that done. Okay, 3 times what is 21? Times 7. So we have to take the top times 7. So 4 times 7 would be 28. So we put 28 cats for every 21 dogs. So we got 4 times something equals 64, and I have no idea what that is, so I'm going to actually divide it out. 4 goes into 6 one time, you're going to have 2 left over, and you're going to bring down your 4. 4 goes into 24 6 times. So you're going to have 16. 4 times 16 equals 64. So you're going to take 3 times 16, which I'm going to do that over here. 6 times 3, 18. Carry your 1, drop your 8. 3 times 1 plus 1 more is 4 for 48. So for every 64 cats, there's 48 dogs. Because that's how you do figure out the ratios of different things. You always get your base problem and then go from there and just make equivalent ratios or equivalent fractions, and then whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom, and whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and then you figure it out from there. Okay, so for Thursday today, you're going to do X.4 quadrant planes as maps on IXL. So if you go to IXL, which I don't have it up, if you give me a second, I'll get this going. My dog's shaking underneath me for some reason. It's okay, Ripley. X.4. What's wrong, honey? Go see Daddy.
Are you done?
No, she's shaking underneath me. Okay, so as you can see, X.4, they're gonna pretty much make our coordinate planes as a map. So this is quadrant 1, as you guys have found out through working with different quadrants. So what we have to find out what place is at 4, 2. So you go to 4 for X, 2 for Y. So where it is at on the map is your art supply store. Okay, so they're just gonna ask, where's the bakery, where's this at, where's this at. I'm gonna jump up a little bit. Okay, so Gwen walked from the party supply store to the toy store, and then from the toy store to the bank. How much did she walk in all? So what you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to count the distance between the units here. So if she started off at the toy store, which is where the teddy bear is, and then she went to the bank, which is over here, and then she went she went to the party store and then to the toy store and then the bank. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 units total is how far she walked. Okay, so you just have to count the distance between. I'll do another one of these. Jada walked from the flower shop, which is right here, to the office supply store, which is right here, and then to the harbor, which is up here. If each grid stands for 1 mile, how far did she walk? So she did 1, 2, 3 miles, because there's 3 units in between here, and if each unit is a mile, then that's what it means. Okay, I can't jump any more levels. So that's what you're gonna have to do for the rest of this, even in the challenge zone. How far is it from the hospital to the theater? So the hospital is where the Band-Aid is, the theater is where this curtain place is. So you have to count by units, 1, 2, 3. So you're going to be 3 units up to there. So you just have to count the units or figure out what the points are at. Like, for example, the magic shop is 3, 2. the office stop, is this an office supply store, is -3, 4. Okay, remember the X is always plotted first, the Y is always plotted second. So, they asked for the office supply store, so it'd be -3 and then 4 for Y, because this runs into -3 and then 4 for Y, and you submit it. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.